Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today in the show, we are in the offseason. Unfortunately, the Lakers season ended, obviously, last week. We are now shifting completely. We'll do some look backs occasionally, obviously. People are still kind of wondering how the hell we arrived here. So if you have questions about that, hit me with them as well. But our attention is basically shifting to watching the rest of these playoffs, because I think it's important to watch the rest of the league to kind of note trends and the strengths and weaknesses for some of these teams for the Lakers to potentially identify going into next year. We are going to discuss the offseason ahead for the Lakers, right? Some of the decisions that they have to make as it pertains to players and coaches and all of that good stuff. So I'm sure you guys have questions about that. I've already taken a look at some of the questions. I can already tell you guys going in. One of them from the iTunes mailbag wants to know about Luka Doncic's next star running mate, right? So we'll touch on that stuff as well. And yeah, anything else that comes up, hit me with questions there in the comment section. Please hit that subscribe button. Excuse me. Please hit that like button as well. And yeah, let's go ahead and get going on this. Not sure how long we're gonna go here. It is a Sunday evening. My entire family is asleep right now. Everybody. It's 3:00 on a Sunday. I would not gonna lie, I would prefer to maybe be in the middle of a nap myself right now, but you know what? I'm here with you guys because I'm dedicated. Before we also get into all of this stuff, I do have some news about the show that I think you guys are going to be excited about. So I'll go ahead and start there, and then dive into the mailbags. And we have questions from the iTunes one. We have questions from Twitter. You guys are going to have questions in the comment section as well. So hit me with them there. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right. So first and foremost, and again, please hit that subscribe button, like button, share button, all of those good things. And then if you guys are listening to this in the morning via podcast, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your pods. 5-star reviews on iTunes if you guys are listening there. And then if you're on Spotify, there's the rate and reviews section there too as well. I should probably go through my Spotify account and see some of the comments there. Every so often I'll get notifications on that, so I guess I may as well check it too. But yeah, some quick news or quick update here on some of the things that we are working on. I had a meeting on Friday with Jovan and with Pete. Remember, the three of us are kind of teaming up, or I've brought those guys into Audacy, and again, shouts to those guys all for entrusting me with that decision and the direction of this network. But we got together, we had a meeting, and one of the things that came out of it that I think I'm comfortable enough announcing it is our episodes. It's not an entirely new feed. It'll sit here on this feed. It'll go up on Jovan's feed, and I believe Pete's feed eventually too. We are going to be doing pod episodes called the Great Western Forum. I was really proud of that name. The Great Western Forum, and what it basically is I will be kind of hosting and ringleading here, and we are going to try to grab all of your favorite Lakers personalities, and we'll grab as many of them as frequently as we can. But certainly, we're going to have the three of our shows will be involved with the Great Western Forum every time that we record, or most of the times that we record. And then we are going to bring in people from our various communities, or your favorite personalities as well. So Raj and Harrison will be involved, and obviously Darius from time to time, as he is Pete's co-host there at LFR. And I'm going to reach out to the Kamenetsky brothers and Tim from Lakers Exceptionalism Pod. We're going to continue trying to add to our Lakers network as well, and to see where we're going to be going there. So keep an eye out and an ear out for what that might look like. But that's the first kind of announcement. Now, as far as when this is going to take place, we are working with Audacy on trademarking it and packaging it, intro outro stuff, labels for these episodes, so that you can pretty easily see that it's a special episode on the feed. And I'm really excited about these. I'm really thrilled about them. We do have another. I'm not going to announce this one, but this idea I think is going to be multi-tiered. And as we find out or figure out some of the extra details from this Great Western Forum thing, we'll announce them and prep them and all of that stuff, so you guys will stay up to date on that. But yeah, keep an eye out for that probably in the next couple of weeks. I would say the three of us, or the three of our shows, and then whoever else we can grab and wrangle to be involved with this too. We will grab and see where that project goes. So that's one thing. The other thing is, for those of you who may not know, I used to host a show called Locked On Lakers, and at first, when Locked On Lakers first went live, it was Harrison and me who were in charge of hosting Locked On Lakers. We did that for a few years. And then Harrison got the full-time gig there at SB Nation and Vox and had to step away. And my next co-host there at Locked On Lakers was Pete. And we did the show together for a few years as well, before I got my full-time job at Vox and left Locked On Lakers. And we the rest of that is history. So the second announcement here is that Pete and I are working on details to start hosting a show again together, and it'll be on this feed. I'm thinking it'll be Fridays, and it won't be every Friday, but it'll be a good chunk of the Fridays here moving forward, and it'll be a similar vibe to the shows that Aaron and I used to host on this feed, called The Hook. So I think The Hook is going to be coming back. Just this time it'll be with Pete and me instead of Aaron and me. And I'm really excited about that too. So both of those things are going to be new additions to this feed. Easiest way to not miss any of it is to hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your pods, or here on YouTube. If you guys are on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. And yeah, I can't wait to get all of that stuff going. So keep an eye out, keep an ear out for all of that stuff. But those are the two kind of biggest additions to the off season that we're going to have. I know previously Lee and I were going to do Basketball Passport on Fridays, and basically bring it back and make it a part of the show. Unfortunately, Lee had some other commitments that I'm really excited about. He's doing a lot of work now with ESPN Australia, and I'm thrilled for Lee that is getting in the way of this. But Lee and I are still going to be doing shows together. It just won't be every Friday. So maybe Lee will be on some of those Friday episodes, or other episodes over the course of from here on out too. But yeah, it'll be Pete and me most Fridays, at least every other Friday, with Pete and me. And then the Great Western Forum pod is going to be with LFR, Buha's Block, Lakers Lounge, and our greater communities, plus some other people who also cover the Lakers who want to stop by every so often. So I'm really excited about all of that. And we will let you know as we get closer to that stuff launching that it's going to officially launch. All right, enough navel gazing. Let's go ahead and dive on into the iTunes mailbag. Again, quick reminder, the best way, if you guys want free, because obviously if you put a super comment, I respond to those at the end of every show. And I always get to those. But if you want to get your topic on the show in a, without having to pay for it, go to iTunes, find Lakers Lounge on iTunes, leave a 5-star review with whatever question or comment or topic that you want on there. And I will get to those whenever I do these mailbags. The first one that we have here was from Tuesday. This is from Dandy Games. Hi, Anthony. Always appreciate your candor and willingness to give a voice to Lakers writers and analysts still working their way up the ladder. Just curious, have you heard anything about who the Lakers are targeting for Luca's next running mate? Looking at the current assets the team has, it seems like rotational depth and size are the most viable path, but I am skeptical about their willingness to use that approach. Wondering if there are any early whispers about who they have in mind, given their limited trade assets and LeBron's shrinking window. So I thought it was interesting, again, at the Rob Pelinka, JJ Redick presser, that it took LeBron being asked about for Rob Pelinka to bring him up. This is now a few pressers that has been the case for. And it just feels to me like, obviously LeBron's voice matters a lot in the organization, but a little bit less than it has over the last few years because Luca's there. Luca is the kind of center of the Lakers universe right now, especially while the Lakers are trying to convince Luca to sign an extension this summer. I, as far as like what I have heard, as far as next running mate goes, there's certainly a lot of people around the league kind of looking at the Giannis situation to see how that plays out as soon as this summer. And if Giannis is on the move, I have heard that the Lakers are obviously going to seriously entertain putting whatever on the table they have to go out and get Giannis. So, take that as you will. But Giannis, I'm not saying he's the likeliest. I'm saying that is the conversation that is going to come first internally here for the Lakers, because we'll see how things go with the Milwaukee Bucks, who, they were just knocked out of the first round. This is the third straight year, I believe, that the Bucks have been knocked out of the first round. Giannis said he's sick of doing that. They also now have to wait for Dame's ankle his Achilles to heal up. That might take a full year from now, which will mean he will likely miss all of next year too. They traded for Kuzma and found out that Kuzma is just completely washed. Maybe he gets better over this upcoming offseason, but if that first round was any kind of indicator, Kuz isn't very good at basketball anymore. And then you have an older roster. We'll see where Brook Lopez winds up. So basically, if the Bucks and Giannis basically come together and come to the understanding and come to the realization that it's going to be really difficult, if not impossible, for them to put together the kind of contender that Giannis is expecting them to be, maybe they both say, okay, we've had our good run together. Let's go ahead and go our separate ways. And if that happens, I would imagine the bidding wars will be insane. There are teams that just flat out can beat even the Lakers' absolute best offer, which would mean that Giannis would have to put together a list of teams that he is most interested in going to. and then you kind of go from there. So I would probably envision, if the Lakers are going to get involved in this, it would probably require Giannis putting them on his list, and kind of going from there. And if the Lakers don't get that kind of help, I frankly find it kind of difficult to see a world in which the Lakers put together an offer that beats the absolute best offers that you could possibly see. It's why it becomes pretty important for us to pay attention to that Denver OKC series, because if Denver knocks out OKC before they even get to the Western Conference Finals, maybe OKC says, okay, we need to raise our ceiling here. Let's put together our assets and our movable money and go out and get Giannis with any of the 175,000 picks it feels like they have in the immediate future. So if OKC gets involved, the Lakers just can't really compete with what OKC can offer. If they don't get involved, if Presti continues to kind of galaxy brain this, then all right, those offers come down to earth a little bit, and maybe the Lakers can get involved. And if Milwaukee does the thing that all of these teams do after they trade their star, which is, oh, we're not tanking right away, we want to see if we can remain competitive. Well, there are very few players who might hit the market who are as impactful as Austin Reeves was this last season. So if the Lakers could basically build a trade offer around all of the draft capital that they have remaining, Austin and Dalton and Rui, and whatever extra contracts that they have to send out to make the math work, that's a pretty good offer. I would say that's a pretty damn good offer. And if that's the direction that things go, I think Giannis is again, I'll call him a viable option for the Lakers. I think there's a path to potentially getting him, but it requires him and Milwaukee coming to the realization that their paths together have they are going to part. And then it would probably also require Giannis putting the Lakers on the short list, and then the Lakers being willing to put everything on the table that they possibly can, which unfortunately right now just isn't a ton. They can only move one pick this upcoming summer, the one first round pick this summer. They can they only have one second round pick at their disposal, I believe, which is the number 55 pick in this upcoming draft. They do have a ton of expiring money, so that certainly might help them in this way as well. But the draft cash just isn't where it needs to be to put together a feasible offer. So it requires moving important parts of your rotation. And I don't know how many teams are going to be able or willing to include two players as impactful as Reeves and Rui. So maybe that's the path here for the Lakers. And then maybe they convince, Milwaukee, hey, either you try to compete with those guys now, or you bottom out and you use those guys to go out and get yourself some picks, some extra picks beyond what the Lakers can offer right now. And you kind of go from there. So, or maybe you expand the deal and you bring in the third team that does have some picks and they're maybe interested in Rui or Austin, and you make it work that way. But yeah, I would say the first player who comes to mind as the next potential running mate here for Luca is probably Giannis. All right. Lakers Fedora writes, writing this at halftime of game 5, it's abundantly clear to me that JJ has lost the plot here. Kleba minutes, no Jackson at all, no offensive adjustment or game plan. Not saying the guys gave up on JJ altogether, but I think they're waving the white flag here with Luca seemingly done, which was at minimum a flagrant one from DDV, by the way, dirty play. These guys can sense JJ has lost the plot. They know their roster is cooked. They're over it and ready for Cancun. They've given up on JJ this season, specifically because they know there's no other lever to pull, and it's for sure not Kleba. Anyway, great coverage this season as always, Anthony. Appreciate the work you do and the entertainment you bring us. Thanks very much, Lakers Fedora. So I watched that game back. I watched Game 5 again, and I remember when I was a kid, we went to SeaWorld, and after shows, they used to have trainers like basically positioned by the exits, and if you wanted, you could basically sit there and talk to the whale trainers after their Shamu show. And I remember, I asked I'll never forget it. The guy's name was Curtis, and the reason I remember that was because he was on an old sing along video that I had when I was like, 7 or whatever years old. And I remember asking this guy Curtis about, you know, uh, if whales ever have bad days, right? Like if the whales are ever kind of moody and don't really feel like doing tricks. And he said, "Yo, yes, they do, and those are the days that we just do not touch the water." And the way that he would kind of see it is you would ask, you would tell the whale to do whatever trick. And by the way, I don't love SeaWorld to the same extent anymore. Uh we don't need to have that conversation. But he would ask, you would send the call out or the signal out there for the whale to do whatever next trick that they were trying to get the whales to do. And he would say that they would almost like roll their eyes at the trainer, where they would, would say, "All right, go jump." And they do whatever hand signal, and the whale would just kind of like turn and just like, "Okay." And then they go and they would not jump as high, or they maybe wouldn't even jump at all, and they would just swim back and try to get whatever fish that they would get as a result of swimming and coming back. And he would say, yeah, like on those days that we see it like that, we don't touch the water because they're just really unpredictable on those days. And I was watching the way that the guys were kind of responding there to JJ, where he would call out a play or he would call out a defense, or they would be walking out of a huddle or walking onto the court after a timeout or when the game first started. And you would just kind of see it like they were just kind of like, "Oh, okay, all right." And they just didn't have energy. And frankly, it didn't feel like they had a whole bunch of belief in themselves or their ability to come back in the series or in the levers that JJ was trying to pull there. And I still contend that JJ's response to anybody questioning him uh, not making any subs in game 4, I don't think that reflected very well on him. And I don't think it was something that the players particularly liked. I have heard some whispers there on from within that locker room. It was kind of like it, it felt like he showed up the Lakers on a couple of instances there, and by the end of that series and by the end of the season, it became abundantly clear in that locker room that JJ needs to do a bunch of growing as a head coach or as a leader of men. Um, that obviously he'll have a whole off season to think about, and then a whole season next year to prep for the playoffs again at the end of next season. But given some of the stuff that I've heard, there are definitely some steps forward that the locker room is hoping that he takes between now and training camp and then throughout next season. And, when the temperature rises and the stakes rise and you really start to feel that pressure, I thought we got a look at how JJ handles those moments. And I don't think it was a very appealing look how JJ handles that stuff. And it's something that he's going to have to really improve on. And yeah, I'm not saying that those guys quit on him or anything like that, but I definitely don't think that they had the belief in themselves or in the various levels of the organization that you've seen from like Houston when they were trying to, or while they have been trying to come back from 3-1, that we saw from Detroit, in the games that they played and lost close to the Knicks in. You the series that we just saw with the Clippers and Nuggets, that game, that getting all the way to 7, and both teams just kind of exchanging blows over the course of that series. The Lakers' energy levels was not great when you compare it to what we saw from some of these other teams. And I think there's a lot going on there. And I think one of the things going on there is a team that looked at the head coach and looked at the coaching staff and just kind of realized they have to get a lot better if we're going to have a chance in this series or in this postseason. And without that really being an option, and without the roster being able to improve between uh, you know, the deficits that the Lakers faced, and whenever they would have to overcome those deficits or win the next series or win the next few series, the Lakers, I just don't think really believed in themselves. And I think, by the way, I think that reflects poorly on the leadership in that locker room. And I think it's something that the Lakers have to address culturally within the organization. The Lakers' ability to think that they can just flip the light switch. They got to get rid of that altogether, or keep that light switch on more consistently than we have seen over the last however many years. So, um, yeah, I think what you're kind of seeing, or what we kind of saw in Game 5, was a Lakers team that just kind of let go of the rope. And look, it was still a close game, but I contend that if Minnesota just makes a higher rate of their wide open threes in that game, that's probably a 15 to 20 point blowout. And in that case, the Lakers would have gotten blown out in Game 5 of a series that they probably should have won. And that would have been taking place at home. That would have been a pretty ugly look. And Minnesota's honestly historically bad shooting in that game kept that from being the lasting image that we would carry into the offseason. All right, let's go into Twitter, where I asked for some questions here. And the first one that I see from a subscriber is from @Bashir_1. Thoughts on the Lakers trading a first into this draft for a young, trading a future first into this draft for a young center to pair with Luca, especially essentially doing what the Lakers, or what the Wolves did last year with Dillingham. Malawak would be perfect. So I've been thinking about this, and yeah, I think the Lakers are going to have to try to get their hands on some cost controlled talent, because Austin is about to get paid. Uh, Rui is due for a new contract at the end of next season, and I think he's going to be pretty expensive. Like the Lakers, as you stick with cores longer, they get more and more and more expensive. And if that is going to be how this plays out, then yeah, it probably makes sense trying to draft kind of like what they basically did with Dalton last year, which was and by the way, the intent going into last draft was to draft a center uh with that first round pick that they had. And then it just so happened that Dalton fell to them, and they acted and took that opportunity. And look, that's another fun what if. What if the Lakers just take one of the centers that they were interested in at the time instead of Dalton, and stuck with their kind of approach going into the draft? I also think it's really important for the Lakers to buy a draft pick this year in the second round. Now that's getting harder and harder to do because second round picks have become really valuable to teams, and they aren't necessarily just selling them in the way that they have in years past. So I would still like to see the Lakers buy a pick in the mid 30s to mid 40s, before they pick somebody at 55th. 55 in June. So, but yeah, the idea of trading, I guess you would have to trade a player for a first round pick, or trade the 2031 pick that they have access to. And instead of trading that for a veteran who can help next season, maybe you trade that for a first in, excuse me, this upcoming draft. I think it's plausible that you could get a decent pick for that. So, yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's something that the Lakers are really going to entertain as a possibility. Basically, what I've heard uh, when it comes to this upcoming offseason is that just about anything is on the table. Outside of obviously trading LeBron, he has a no trade clause. I don't think he is going anywhere. Luca obviously isn't getting traded, so I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Austin, it's kind of difficult to get a grip for. Rob called him a pillar of the franchise here moving forward, but I would imagine Rob felt that way about Anthony Davis before he traded him. Shouts to Darius for making that point on the on LFR last week, or whenever it was that he and Pete had that conversation. I would be pretty surprised if Austin was traded this offseason. I would probably only list it at about like a 15 to 20, maybe like 10 to 15% chance that Austin gets traded this summer. But if the Lakers basically decide that they want to move Austin uh, out of concern for how the extension talks might go, or for what we're talking about, maybe you trade Austin to a team that has a mid-tier first round pick, maybe a high first, top 10, at the end of the lottery, basically. Maybe you trade Austin to a team like that, to get your hands on a first, to trade or to be able to draft a player, no matter what position, but a player who would be cost controlled, who the Lakers could fit into the Luca timeline, and would kind of bring their books into a little bit more clarity after not having to pay Austin as soon as at the end of next offseason. Or maybe he agree. I don't think he would agree to the max extension this upcoming offseason. So look, if Austin agreed to the extension this upcoming summer, if the Lakers put 4 years and $90 million on the table and Austin agreed to it, then great. I would say I would be 100% in on that possible outcome to the negotiations. But if not, and you might be paying Austin 30-ish million bucks a year, and you would still have questions about the defense with him and Luca moving forward. That's tricky, man. That's really, really tricky. So, yeah, to answer the question one more time, yes, I would definitely consider that a path that the Lakers are considering, trading into the first round to draft a player who they think can help them now, and have that player be cost controlled for the next 7 years or so. And then you kind of you kind of see if you can bring in veteran help another way, whether that be with money that maybe you free up by moving Austin. Maybe you talk to LeBron about, hey, if this is what you take, then this is what kind of free agent that we have access to, and maybe those conversations go well. I saw Jovan report that LeBron is less likely to take a pay cut, or put that as a possibility on the table as he was last year. I hadn't heard that is not necessarily what I've heard. Not saying Jovan is wrong or that reporting is wrong. I'm just saying that I haven't really heard that. And to be clear, the Lakers aren't like planning, or they didn't plan for LeBron taking a pay cut this summer, because that would be a dumb thing to plan for. But if the Lakers basically put together a menu of free agents that they would potentially have access to and present it to LeBron and be like, "Hey, if you take this much less, we have access to maybe the full mid-level instead, and this is the kind of player that we can get using the full mid-level. Or if you take this much less, then and make sure, because if the Lakers use their mini mid-level, then they get hard capped at the second unit or second apron." And the Lakers would say, "This is what kind of flexibility we would maybe prefer, so that we stay under the second apron, or maybe give ourselves a little bit more room, some breathing room under that second apron hard cap, if things do play out that way." But yeah, those are all conversations that the Lakers are going to have to have, whether it's with LeBron about his contract status moving forward, whether it's with Austin about the extension, or his contract status moving forward. All of those conversations are going to happen fairly soon. And when they do, and the outcome of those conversations, that's going to go a long way in deciding how successful this upcoming summer is going to be. All right, let's look at the comment section where we have 93 comments. Wow. All right, so let's go. Well, first we have to play this. Oh, shoot, I forgot to say this. All right, quick sidestep back a little bit. One of the things that I want to do for the remainder of the playoffs is basically adopt a team that we as a show are going to root for lack of a better term, because none of us are actually going to root hard for any of these teams as we would for the Lakers. We could do the extreme hater thing and root basically against certain teams, right? So we could say whoever Boston is playing, that's our team. We could again pick a team that we're going for. I'm probably going to wait to pick one until after this first round is over. You have the Warriors Rockets game 7 tonight, so we could maybe pick we'll maybe put that together. So I'm going to put together a poll basically that'll run tonight through the next 24 hours, and I'll basically whittle down our options, to potentially pick there. And yeah, we'll see what comes out of that. But it just gives us a little more fun to root for the rest of this postseason while the Lakers are out of it. So keep an eye out for that. We'll do that for the next few weeks. All right. So first super comment, I just want to scroll back up to the top, make sure it actually is the first super comment. Yep, it is from JK Productions, who writes, "We need to get more athletic at shooting guard, small forward, and center. Not sure how that happens without trading Austin. Maybe not even enough if we do, especially when if LeBron opts in." Yeah, the LeBron opting in would be pretty tough financially for the Lakers to operate with. That doesn't mean that I'm like rooting for him to not opt in. LeBron's going to make whatever decision is best for him. He is 100% worth that amount of money, not just from a basketball standpoint, but certainly from a greater brand standpoint for the Lakers. And so if he opts in, then he opts in and you try to make it work. But I find it hard to believe that he would opt in. I think I think it's probably likelier that he opts out and then does another 1-and-1, so that if it looks like Bryce James is going to be in the NBA in the next couple of years, maybe LeBron can position himself to be able to play with both of his sons. we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I as far as the first part of this question, 1 zillion%, they need to get a lot more athletic, and specifically because there's a lot of different kinds of athleticism in the foot speed department. They are just such a slow team, and look, Minnesota is just absolutely bursting at the seams with athleticism and foot speed and length and stuff like that. So part of this is in direct comparison or given what we just saw from that series. But man, the Lakers are slow, and that needs to change. And it's going to be interesting to see because Luca has kind of his guys already in the organization. He loves Maxi Kleba. He loves Dorian Finney-Smith. And I would really be kind of curious to see, especially if Dorian opts into the final year of his contract. If he opts in and becomes an expiring, I could see maybe the right move maybe being to trade him to bring in somebody with a little bit more foot speed than he has at this stage of his career. Maybe you trade again. I know trading Austin is kind of the popular conversation to have right now. That's another route that you can go is literally just swapping out Austin for maybe a less talented player, because you're not going to find a player as good as Austin for 12 million bucks a year. You're just not. And if you can turn Austin into a player who maybe isn't as talented as Austin is, but does fit a little bit better next to Luca, both defensively and offensively, maybe that makes some sense there. But and then as far as the center position goes, it's also really important that JJ trusts whichever center the Lakers go out and get. And this is a conversation I think he's going to have with Rob that might get a little awkward. And it's like, look, we have to employ a better center this year, and you have to be willing to play whatever center it is that we go out and get. And if JJ balks at that conversation, that gets tricky very quickly. So, yeah, they need a center better than Jackson. I know the kind of popular sentiment is just to take a few swings on the veteran minimum type centers that might be out there. I don't love that. I'm not going to lie. I think you need, and by the way, when I say, when it comes to the center position, I would probably go so far as to say that, especially if Jackson walks, and unless you're planning on having like Koloko as a full-time NBA player next year, which is possible, but the Lakers are going to need, I would say, 2 or 3 more centers going into next season than they currently have. And I was talking to somebody, and they kind of lobbed out the possibility of Kleba being one of those center additions next summer, because as Rob just mentioned in his post-season presser the other day, there are a few kinds of centers that the Lakers could utilize. So he used the phrasing, they need to add a center. I think they need to add centers plural. And it's I would say probably need to take 1 or 2 swings with the veteran minimum. I would probably use the mini mid-level on a center personally, and then maybe even look to trade for a center as well, because you look around at the center rotations still left. You have Boston's, which is just jam packed with NBA players. You have Kristaps Porzingis, you have Al Horford, you have Luke Cornett, you have the guy from Memphis the year before. You have in Cleveland, you have Jared Allen, and you have Evan Mobley, and you have Tristan Thompson, who has been effective in the really narrow role that he plays. You have in Denver, obviously, you have Jokic, who's pretty damn good too. In Houston, you have Alperen Şengün and you have Steven Adams, who have been playing together and have been effective together out there on the court at the same time. In OKC, they have Hartenstein and you have Chet, and those guys play together. Like, if the Lakers seriously think that one center is all that's necessary, I think you're probably going into next year a little thin at the position. So I think you're probably going to need to add at least two bona fide NBA caliber centers, and then those guys compete for whatever role that they want. And one of them is going to have to be your traditional rim running, hard roll, finish over the top type center. Maybe you get another one who's more of a floor spacer, and then maybe a Christian Coloco type to round out the rotation from there. But the Lakers are going to have to get a lot deeper at that position than they have been, and until they are, I'm what we saw from them in this series was pretty eye-opening, and it indicates to me, shoot, I mean, the center rotation that we just talked, I didn't even list them with Gobert and Reed and with Randall. Like, there's a lot of skilled and physical and imposing bigs out there, and the Lakers are going to have to get a lot deeper than they were this year. The next super comment we have here comes also from JK Productions. This free agent class ain't it. I don't see value. I'm going to try to find this guy, Ralph Mason, on Twitter, put together kind of a centers option list here that is a good thing to kind of come back to over the course of the summer. So Lakers center potential options at free agent. You have Clint Capella, Luke Cornett, Brooke Lopez, Kevon Looney, Jericho Sims, Jackson Hayes, Tristan Thompson, Nick Richards. I would say, and then via trade, Daniel Gafford, Mark Williams, Goga Bitadze, Walker Kessler, Jonas Valanciunas, Nikola Vucevic, Jakob Poeltl, Nick Claxton. I would probably say I think the Kessler thing is going to come back up. I think the Lakers are going to call up Utah and see if they can advance those conversations further than they got during the season this last year. So I think Walker Kessler is somebody to keep an eye on this summer. I think Nick Richards as a free agent is somebody to keep an eye on this summer. I know the Lakers really like Jericho Sims. They were in on him for a little bit last season, so keep an eye on him this year. Clint Capella, if he's available for the minimum, would be, I think, really good value as well. Daniel Gafford, I don't know that Nico Harrison is allowed to trade with the Lakers anymore, but Daniel Gafford would be perfect. Oh my God, if they were somehow able to get Daniel Gafford, I would be a happy man. So he's somebody to keep an eye on as well. And yeah, we'll kind of see how the center market plays out. JK Lobos writes, congratulations for a great year of content. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the positivity that I have received after the season wrapped up. And if you guys liked last year as a year of content, I can't wait to dive into everything that we're going to be able to do because we are partnering or have partnered with LFR and with Jovan. So the content is only going to continue to get better. And after this offseason, we have some conversations hopefully lined up that might expand the budget of the show. And that would allow me to more formally add Harrison into the fold and Raj into the fold and all of that good stuff. And maybe beyond that. And then, yeah, I'm always, as part of my gig with Audacy, I'm always keeping an eye on the market for other potential shows to add. So I'll be having some of those conversations, not just with Lakers people, but with hopefully, Dodgers and Kings and Rams and all of that stuff. So yeah, keep an eye on all that. And then but yeah, thank you. It means a lot, all of the positivity that we have felt as a show after the season. Now, for the question, should Braun opt in, no pay cut? Do you believe the front office will offer AR 35 or more million? Do AR Luca lineups work in 2026-27, or will they restructure the whole roster? So first and foremost, I thought Pete and Darius had a really good conversation about this. Pete's stance really kind of surprised me. I'm not going to give it away so that you guys go check out that pod, but I was really kind of surprised. And I'm going next time I talk to Pete, we're going to talk about that here on the show. But yeah, so I would. I think trading Austin at some point in the next year or two has to be on the table. The Lakers kind of, looking at him as untouchable as he gets closer and closer and closer to the payday. Uh, their stance on Austin is probably gonna have to change relatively quickly. That said, I would be really bummed if the Lakers traded Austin before we saw a lot more creativity between Luca and LeBron and Austin that we saw in this last series. I think of all of the things that all of my biggest regrets from this last Lakers season. I think the biggest regret is how little connectivity that we saw between Austin and Luca and LeBron, whether it's 3-man sets, whether it's 2-man sets, and then one of them operating on the weak side, whether it's, 1-man sets on, or one of those guys being involved in a set and then having both of those other guys on the weak side for swing opportunities. Like, I just it drove me insane over the course of the second half of the year after they traded for Luca, how little they worked on Luca LeBron stuff. And then obviously because you didn't get those reps in the regular season, that wasn't something they felt that they could confidently go to against Minnesota. And I just thought it was playing with one arm kind of tied behind their back. So that's going to be, I would prefer to get a look at Luca, LeBron, and Austin with a full offseason to develop chemistry, to develop a scheme that maximizes those guys, and at least more consistently than we saw this scheme from last year. And if the Lakers basically try to do that, they try to pencil that out and talk to Luca about what they have in mind. And if Luca says, I mean, you can, but I'm more comfortable playing this way, then okay, maybe it does make some sense to trade Austin for somebody who more closely fits with Luca's approach. But it was a real bummer to watch how those guys didn't play together, and it would really suck to never see that and then trade Austin never having seen it. And look, there are smarter basketball people than me in that organization. And if those people take a look at what that would mean or what it would look like and come to the conclusion of it can't happen, then again, it would suck, but there's not much you can really do about it. But um yeah, I first and foremost, my top priority is schematically maximizing the talent that they have with those three guys and getting a lot more from those three guys in terms of creativity on the ball. And then going from there to whatever other options that they decide that they need to get a look at. Oh yeah. You know what, Brian? I think it's I got this question here from Twitter at Brian Banks. So wait, can we get the yearly Locked On laughing episode post for the Clippers? Oh, and let's look at the Paul George trade again. Yeah. If the Lakers hadn't been knocked out as embarrassingly as they did, I probably would have laughed at the Clippers. And by the way, people think that this is me laughing at Locked On Lakers. But no, I hosted Locked On Lakers, and back in the bubble when the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead, Harrison and Pete and I recorded an episode where the beginning of the show was us laughing at the Clippers. So when you see this,
welcome everybody to the Locked On Lakers podcast.
when you see that, that is not Pete and Harrison and me laughing at Locked On Lakers. That is me, former host of the Locked On Lakers podcast, and that episode laughing at the Clippers. So I just want to clarify that because I've gotten a weird number of people who are like, hey, why do you keep on going at Locked On Lakers? No, I love the Kamenetsky brothers. They have been incredibly nice to me over the years. Ever since I got into I'll never forget this. We were doing, some of us bloggers at the time, I think Trevor was one of them, Harrison was one of them, I was one of them, and I think there was one more. Either that or it was just us three. But the three of us are walking into the ESPN LA studio there in LA Live because George Sedano was going to bring us on his pod that he had at the time to do like a Lakers blogger roundtable kind of an episode. So we're all there at the front desk and we're signing in. We're getting our badges, our guest badges, and then in walks, I believe, both of the Kamenetskys, either both of them or it was just Andy. And Andy was like, "Oh shoot, we screwed up. We shouldn't have let you guys into the building because people are going to realize you are too good to let leave said building." And it was just like a really nice comment. And I was just, I don't really get starstruck, but it was like, oh shit, that's Andy. And that's Brian. And I just kind of like, wow, okay, cool. And my eyes got a little big, and that was really nice of him to say. And they have, anytime I have asked anything of those guys, they have been incredibly nice to me. And it made it really easy when they were kind of looking for another platform to go to. After Pete left, it was really easy for me to reach out to the Kamenetsky brothers to be like, hey, what do you guys think of being my co-host here? And then, I was also at the time kind of sort of looking, because Vox had been kind of flirting with me over the previous 6 months or so. And I had told him like, hey, by the way, there's a chance that this might just be your show. So if you want the gig, I would be honored if you were kind of my successor here at Locked On. And it was a really easy and nice conversation to have because those guys have been always really nice. I love both of them personally. And then I knew they were going to do a great job, and they have done a great job with Locked On Lakers. So when you see that clip, it's not us laughing at Locked On Lakers. It's Locked On Lakers at the time laughing at the Clippers. So just to be 100% clear there. But yeah, if the Lakers, to get back to Brian's question, if the Lakers weren't knocked out of the playoffs as ugly as they were, we would probably have done something to laugh at the Clippers, especially getting blown out the way that they did. Let's see. I'm gonna go down here. Yeah, I can't believe it either. It's like, it was just so weird that people, I love those dudes. Like Andy and Brian are great, and it was crazy to have people be like, "Oh my god, Anthony's beefing with the Cambros." I'm like, "Excuse me?" I mean, I'll do it because beefs tend to help everybody, unless you're Drake and you lose to that extent. But beefs are fun. But no, I don't have any beef with those guys, and the clip is just meant to laugh at the Clippers. I think that's going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. And then, I still haven't narrated the last two pieces that I wrote for Clutch Points. So I'll narrate those a little bit later. And they'll be the lowdowns for tomorrow. Before we go, though, it was reported last week that, or maybe over the weekend or whenever it was, that Greg Popovich is going to step away from coaching and is going to be kind of transitioning into a front office role full time. And I top 2 or 3 coach in the history of the sport, one of the greatest coaches in the history of all professional or organized sports. Great person too. And it's a real bummer to me that he made this decision because his health just didn't hold up. Full disclosure, when I went and covered the Lakers game there in San Antonio, this was the direction that it was heading even back then. I just didn't feel comfortable reporting it, and nobody really felt comfortable reporting it. We all felt that Pop deserved the ability to give every look at every avenue to continue trying to coach, and it just doesn't wind up being in the cards. But it's a bummer for the sport to lose Pop in that position. I hope he has a as full a recovery as he possibly can, and we get to continue to hear from Pop in some way, shape, or form moving forward. But congratulations on an incredible career to Greg Popovich, and to all Spurs fans who got to enjoy him coaching their team. And nothing but the thoughts and prayers and positive vibes to Pop and the Popovich family as they all embark on the next chapter for themselves. So, man, that was a tough thing to see. I did get this question late. John Paul asking, will you cover Slovenia this summer or September? I don't know. I probably will, because in September there just isn't anything to talk about. So I would imagine we could maybe become the Slovenian lounge. I got to find the word for lounge in Slovenian, and maybe we'll become that for those games. That is now officially going to do it for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody for the questions and the comments and all of the various ways. Appreciate that. And until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.